Shaner.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
We stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Cindy Hansen, please come forward and tell us why you want to continue your service on the Civil Service Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for your service to the city. I appreciate that. I'm applying to be renewed to the Civil Service Commission. I enjoy the work. I have some background that I believe provides value to that commission. We also have a fairly young commission in terms of folks that haven't been on there a good number of years. And so even though I've filled the 2 terms that are normal, I'm asking for an exception to that rule so that I can continue to pass on knowledge to those folks who are just coming on board.
That's a really good reason.
Yes,
That's a really good reason.
you're doing a good job, so good. Any other questions or comments?
I've got one.
Yes.
So as part of action that we took last year, you were here at the council meeting,
I
right?
was.
It was voted to suspend civil service requirements
Yes.
for the hiring for different departments. I was wondering what type of detriment does that have to our hiring process and for the rights of people that are applying?
Sure. I still have concerns about it. As Commissioner Rayford reported last week, we got a really great report from the police department. So the transparency has remained within the city departments in making sure that there is review of those hiring practices and looking to provide the data that supports that they're still open and equal. My concerns come to the second part of that question that you asked, which is the rights of individuals. As I shared at that time, and my concern remains, when there is no approved list, there's no appeal process for someone who is not selected. And so that concern remains, and it's one of those that obviously I abide by the decisions of the council and uphold those in my role on the Civil Service Commission. My personal opinion is a little bit wary, and I'm watching to see how things play out and just being cautious.
Understandably so, and thank you for being here to advocate for the process as well.
Certainly.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
City Assessor Property Assessment Procedures. You're here to give us
Yep. Good
Real
afternoon, Mayor and
news.
Council. My name is Tyler Erickson. I'm the Sioux City Assessor. I have been asked to speak about the assessment notices that will be going out at the end of this month. The current mailing address is between March 5th and March 28th. Depending on how quickly the mailing house can get everything processed, the assessment notices must be mailed out before April 1st of each year. This year, we will be sending out over 30,000 notices. The assessments are based off actual sales that happened between January 1st of 2024 and December 31st of 2024. According to the Iowa Department of Revenue, there was 958 residential sales in Sioux City in 2024 and 40 commercial sales. These sale prices are compared to the 2024 assessed values and used to determine market growth. Iowa law requires the assessment jurisdiction to be within 95 and 105% of current market value. If sale prices continue to increase, so will assessed values. Once notices are received, there is an appeal period. There are 2 types of appeals. You have an informal review and a formal appeal. Informal reviews start April 2nd and go through April 25th. An informal review involves speaking to an appraiser in the office about the information we have on a specific property. An inspection may be requested if our information is incorrect. Once an informal review is complete and an agreement is made, it requires a signature from the petitioner. The formal appeal process is between April 2nd and April 30th. A formal appeal is an appeal that is made directly to the Board of Review. A petitioner can choose to meet with the Board of Review in person or submit evidence to support their claims claims for the Board of Review to review without them present. The board meets between May 1st and May 31st. The Sioux City Board of Review is made up of 3 members. The members were selected by the Sioux City Conference Board, which is made up of all city council members, all Woodbury County Board of Supervisors, and all members of the Sioux City Community School Board, Sergeant Bluff School Board, and Hinton School Board, and Lawton Bronson. The 3 members are Jim Jung, Rodney Rental, and Jonathan Bloom. The Board of Review members are not employees of the Assessor's Office and work independently. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to, you probably know, but one of your longtime board members passed away last week. Did you?
Yes,
Okay.
Susie Feathers,
Yeah.
yep. She did.
Tyler, there's been, I think, in my opinion, there's been real success for the taxpayers with that informal review process. I don't know how many years it's been in place, but it's really been beneficial because I can come to you and tell you why I think you're incorrect and give you the reasons, and we have a discussion about it.
Yes.
And then if we agree, that's when you prepare the agreement and we both sign it.
Yes, and usually that's a conversation that we have. Present any evidence, any comparable properties, sales, or maybe a neighboring property that is very similar to yours. If they're assessed completely different, we may have information on that property that we don't have on yours. But it's a very easy process. We're very open to it. We do have a lot of people that come in and do that process. I encourage people that if they feel that way, please come to the office or give us a call, and we'll have a conversation. We may not always agree, but we can respectfully disagree. And if we don't come to an agreement, there's a formal process you can still do. So,
Have you say what, I'm sorry. I just want to know when you said they're going to go in the mail. Have they gone in the mail?
they will be mailed out March 25th, in between
Okay.
March 25th and March 28th.
Okay, go ahead.
Just over a week.
Yep.
From now, we'll be getting those assessment
Yep.
notices. And I also would encourage the citizens to do the informal review earlier than later because the informal review is from April 2nd till, what date was it?
April 25th. April 2nd to April 25th is
25th.
informal.
If you wait till the 25th and you don't agree with me and I don't agree with you, I've got 5 days to
file a
to prepare
formal-
a formal
Yep,
appeal.
yep. And we do, it seems to be very busy early on, then we have a break, then very busy at the end. People forget about it, try to get it in last minute. The other thing is, we will not have a time to do an inspection if we required one to verify information. So we also, in that time, if we will still continue to talk to taxpayers, and we can make a recommendation to the Board of Review that we are, based off information we collected from them, that we would agree or disagree with them presentation, whatever it is. So we do that as well. There's a lot of recommendations that go through based off of information we gather during this time of year, but it's all information-based. So if you have something that may not be incorrect that we have, by all means, bring it to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? Thank you, guys.
Transportation Safety Action Plan completed by Simcoe under Safe Streets and Roads for All program.
Hi, Gordon Fair, City Engineer. I'm here to introduce Corinne Erickson and Ryan Brower from Simcoe. They're going to go over the Transportation Safety Action Plan.
Hi. So yeah, we're Corinne Erickson, Ryan Brower. So just as some background, in 2023, Simcoe was awarded a grant from USDOT to create a safety action plan for both Sioux City and Sergeant Bluff. And that's through the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. So having this plan in place will make that city eligible to apply for implementation funding for the projects that are identified in this plan. And so today we have a draft document for you to review that should be included in your packets. And we're requesting that council members submit any comments or feedback that you have to offer. And we're looking to have a final draft ready for presentation at the end of April. And so today we just wanted to walk you through some of the background of the plan and the main points. So the focus of the Safe Streets and Roads for All program is to use the safe system approach to improve roadway safety. And that's through the adoption of an action plan like this, and then leadership commitment to Vision Zero. And so one of the requirements of the grant program is a commitment from leadership to achieving Vision Zero, which means 0 serious injuries or deaths on the roadway network. And so we looked around at other plans across the country for examples of the timeline that other cities were adopting. And there's a lot of variation in how this was interpreted. So the goal that we drafted is a 50% reduction in the 10-year average number of serious injuries and fatalities by 2040, with the eventual goal of 0 by the year 2055. And so by adopting this plan, it would also be adopting that Vision Zero commitment. So throughout the development process, we had a steering committee made up of members from Sioux City Engineering, Transit, the Active Transportation Board, Law Enforcement, Siouxland District Health, and the public schools. And we also had a public input survey last year that received about 200 responses. So the survey allowed residents to place areas of concern directly on a map and then give descriptions of what they were seeing that was unsafe and then what type of transportation they were using. And the survey was also translated into Spanish, Vietnamese, and Somali. And so in this plan, it describes the outreach that we conducted and all the neighborhood meetings and coalition meetings that we attended. We also distributed flyers to encourage people to take the survey across the city. And so some of the themes, kind of the overarching themes that we received through all this, survey data and the discussions that we had at different events and with the steering committee, there were 5 different kind of focuses. So speeding was one, and then impaired driving and distracted driving, running stop signs and signals, and then the last one is bike and pedestrian safety with an emphasis on school zones. So those are just kind of the focus areas that kept coming up again and again throughout the plan. And then I'll turn it over to Ryan. He's gonna talk a little bit about the method that we use for the safety analysis.
So for the safety analysis, we posted a public survey, received input from our steering committee, used 2019 to 2023 suspected serious injury and fatal injury crash data, and used the potential for crash reduction or PCR web map provided by the Iowa DOT. With these different data sources, we came up with the project points in corridors and high injury network. And I guess to provide more information on these steps, so for the survey, we created a survey using Survey 123. This gave the participants an option to select points on a map where they had transportation safety concerns and what mode of transportation they were operating at the time. And with the steering committee, we had an open discussion and gave the steering committee members an opportunity to list out areas where they had safety concerns. And with the crash data, we used the previous 5 years of crash data, as I mentioned, 2019 to 2023, downloaded from the Iowa DOT website. And within this time span, we displayed the severe car wrecks, which are the suspected serious injury and fatal injury, and identified what the leading cause of the car wrecks were. And then for the potential for crash reduction, with the PCR web map, we use the web map provided by the Iowa DOT to locate any other areas that could be improved to reduce the number of car wrecks. And then, with this data that I just went over, we were able to identify the high injury network and what the project points and corridors that you will see displayed on our map in tables near the end of the document. And if you have any other areas that you believe should be included, please let us know.
Well, is there a report that we can view here, or, I mean?
Yes, there was miscommunication on that. There was supposed to be one included in your package, so I'll be getting that one to you, both through email and a hard copy.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
How much?
Corinne, one more, just one question quick. How many responses did you receive?
About 200.
That's pretty decent,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, we were happy with the turnout, so. And we will be having a 15-day public comment period opening on March 31st. So if you have any comments at all or other, points that you want to include, you can send those over to us, and Gordon can send you our contact information. So.
Thank you.
Good, thank you for putting the work in.
We're going to go to council, the consent agenda, items 5 through 15B, consider and pass unanimously unless a separate roll call is asked for by a council member. If you want to speak on an item, please come up to the microphone. As I read that item, be sure to state your name. If you want to come up on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second?
5 is the reading of the March 10th City Council minutes. 6 is a resolution adopting the plans and specs for the bridge overlays project.
Gordon, I just want to make a comment on this item. You might tell me we've done this all the time, but for some reason it jumped off the page with me, the bid alternative A and bid alternative B, where if they do complete, we're doing 2 bridges, and if they complete either one for less than 100 calendar days, your completion date's November 26, 2025, and if they come in under 100 calendar days, they have a $100,000 incentive.
If they complete both of them at the same time, concurrently.
Either or both bridge sites closed for equal to or less than. I might be reading it wrong. But anyway, just the idea of it's really good. And do we do that just on bridge work, or is it on other
No,
projects as well?
This is a different situation because the 2 bridges are adjacent to each other. We want to get this thing overlaid as quickly as possible, not drag it into the second year.
High traffic area.
In the 100, if they go more than 110 calendar days, it's a liquidated damages $3,000 per calendar day
While the bridge is closed.
while the
Yeah.
bridge is closed.
When they're doing the work underneath, there's no obstruction to traffic, so we don't really care about that, except for just the
So both bridges have to be completed within
no
under 100.
traffic, under the bid alternate B.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I just,
DOT does that all the time.
oh, do they?
And it's something that we've talked about for a while, and especially on Public Works, of the utilization of incentive, disincentive to try to lessen the blow to property owners, business owners, people in that area or in whatever area they are in. Just trying to encourage whoever would get that bid to be able to expedite that and do a good job as quickly as possible so that we can move on and those businesses can get back up to business as usual. So we're hopeful that it's successful.
I hope so, yeah, because we have had a public meeting on this and hardly anybody showed, so.
Thanks, Gordon.
Number 7 is a resolution amending the position classification manual by approving an updated job description for the position of paramedic. 8 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to the Danco Emergency Equipment for Teledyne Thermal Imaging Units. 9 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution authorizing the police department to accept a methamphetamine drug hotspot grant funds for the Iowa Office of Drug Control Policy to assist with investigations. B are resolutions approving an anti-heroin grant from the Iowa Office of Drug Control Policy to assist the police department with investigations. C is a resolution authorizing the police department to submit an application to the Iowa Office of Drug Policy Burn Justice Assistant Grant Program for grant funding for a driving simulator. 10 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a renewal option number 2 for the purchase order to Backstrap for rock salt. B is a resolution approving renewal option 3 to the service provider agreement with Dakota Traffic Services for street pavement painting and striping. C is a resolution approving an amendment number 1 to the service provider agreement with Barcon for additional grading and extending the project completion and sediment removal dates for the marina dredging project. D is a resolution approving a Fifth Amendment to the site lease agreement with New Singular Wireless for communication systems at 3430 West 23rd Street. E is a resolution approving a Komatsu Care Plus contract agreement for maintenance items on 7 front-end loaders and 1 bulldozer. F is a resolution approving change order number 2 to the contract with Sioux City Engineering for the Ridge Avenue Emergency Repair Project. G is a resolution approving a contract with KMP Construction for the South Alice Emergency Repair Project. H is a resolution approving a contract to Steve Harris for the Glen Oaks Boulevard Paving Project. I is a resolution approving a contract termination agreement with the Iowa Economic Development Authority and Meridian Clinical Research for property at 4802 Sunnybrook Drive. 11 are actions authorizing payments. A is a resolution authorizing payment to L&L Builders for the Stux Aviation Center project at the airport. B is a resolution authorizing payment to Special Tree Service for the tree removal project. I need to abstain, conflict of interest. C is a resolution approving fund transfers. D is a motion approving total expenses for February. 12 are items that 12A to D are resolution scheduling hearings on proposed amended and restated plans for Teton, Combined Central Sioux City CBD, Donner Park, and Combined Floyd River Urban Renewal Project areas. 13 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, vapor product permits. 14 are applications for alcohol licenses, and 15 are boards, commission, and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items? Passes 5-0. 16 is a resolution approving a purchase agreement and accepting a permitted easement from Capital Management for the Sioux City Landfill Expansion Project, the property south of 5800 28th Street. Somebody else is going to move that.
I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 4-1. I vote no, and the reason I vote no is this has been ongoing for way, way too long, and somehow we just need to come to grips to figure out a way to purchase that property so that this doesn't have to happen every time that we get a renewal. And how long is the farm lease in number 17? I forget.
It's 15 years, but the city reserves a right to terminate if there's another project or use for the land.
Is this land in what could be a proposed landfill? If we were to open the landfill again, would we need this ground in 17?
Montang Environmental Services, that we don't know yet. We are in the process of getting a consultant to do a review of opening the landfill, and at that time we'll know how much land we would need. So we don't know that information yet.
And go ahead.
Mayor, were you asking in number 17 if the land that's subject to the farm lease is a portion of reopening the landfill?
You want me to read that first so we can open the public hearing? I understand.
Well, no, I was just going to say the majority of the land that's subject to the farm lease is away from the landfill area, is my understanding.
No, I know that. That's what bothers me, but there's also about 14 acres right in this site. And so 17 is a hearing and resolution approving a farm lease with Capital Management for property adjacent to 5800 28th Street.
I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Now, we need about 10 acres plus or minus of their property? Which they still have access to, by the way, right?
Capital managements?
Yeah.
Yes, it's 35.5 acres that we're getting the permanent easement on
30
to move.
35.5, permanent easement, but they still have the access to it. All we have is the right to go on it. They can still graze cattle on it, they can still do all that stuff.
Correct. There's a portion of it that is still grazable, yep. But
Right.
we'll fence off our area.
You're
That
gonna
we are
actually fence
utilizing.
it off finally.
I'm sorry?
You're gonna actually fence it off?
We have to, yep, so that the cows don't get near the monitoring wells.
Okay, because they haven't been in the past,
No, they requested that too, so
okay?
they'll have little.
And how
I
many
don't know if
acres
it-
are they getting across the road?
Approximately
That's what
65.5.
Yeah, and how many are they getting on the hill that we're on, 14 or something?
It's, I think, 65 total in the lease.
What's that?
It's 65 or like
65.9.
66, yeah, total in the lease for the 35 that we're putting the wells on.
And if we're fencing it off and we're doing all this, you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why doesn't he just sell it to us?
That I don't know. We tried again and again.
And there's
We
no
just
way
have
you
to-
can, I don't understand how this isn't a public purpose. If it's not, I don't understand what it takes to become a public purpose, because this is in the public interest to have this ground to monitor these wells.
Amber Hegarty, Assistant City Attorney. The definition isn't by public purpose, it's by a public improvement. We have to have a public improvement in order to go through with the eminent domain process, and it's our belief in the legal department this doesn't meet the definition of a public improvement as it's given to us under state code.
Have you asked the Attorney General to give you an opinion on that?
We cannot ask for an attorney general.
No, yes, we can. We have to go through a legislator, but we certainly can ask for an Attorney General.
We were informed by our consultant that another community did attempt to go through an eminent domain process to gain access to monitoring wells, and were strongly defeated.
I don't know what you ever can condemn property for in Iowa then. That's amazing to me. Anyway, it's unfair to have 35 acres for 50-some acres. That's an unfair deal. But that's my personal opinion. I've expressed it now and I'll move on. But I don't think it's right. I think the ground that you're giving up in this lease on the, next to the landfill, you're gonna need if you ever expand that landfill. And then we're going to be right back here again trying to figure out what compensation's just. So, go ahead, Rick.
And before Mr. Bertrand comes up, he did provide a sealed bid. We did not solicit sealed bids, so I'm going to return this to him, and he is free to open that bid and present it to council.
Thank you. The Rick Bertrand, 1501 Peavy Street. Real quick, just want to go back. This goes back, like you said, Bob, a long, long ways. There's a backstory behind this. I have the most utmost respect for our neighbors and the Smiths, and I grew up as a kid. My dad and Doyle Smith were great neighbors, and now the two sons have kind of taken this thing over. And as this thing is all kind of, things were done on a lot of handshakes back then, and they were done. It was kind of the Wild West in that area. So what I'm up here today is probably, I'm assuming, a lot of the questions that they would be asking if it was reversed. So the first question I have is kind of the same question at this point: is why is the city at this point including the 51 acres, and why isn't that part of a procurement process? It's public ground. To me, it should go out to public bid. It really only involves two people. It's a non-developable piece of property to the city of Sioux City. There's no on-road access to it. There's no development opportunity to it. There was some condemnation that was done for a bike trail along the way. So really, it just contains to two parties that are involved, which is, can you guys pull up the map of the property owners that was sent to me? Could somebody pull that up? That would really explain to the council a lot what I'm talking about, if they can just visually see. So they're pulling that map up. I guess I would go back to, and again, I support the idea of putting this agreement in place, because what this was a handshake between the previous owner, Doyle, and a previous attorney with the city. And they came down and they needed access to this property, put these wells in. Two guys stood on the property, and an old-time farmer basically, and my dad would have done the same thing, stuck his hand out and says, I'm not putting any easement in writing, but you know what, put the wells on the property, and I'm going to give you access. To me, all we're doing here now, 15 years later, is the DNR is requiring the city to put this in writing. That really is the net of the net. As far as I'm concerned, the agreement is still in place. All they're doing is codifying or putting in writing the existing agreement that is in place. And the existing agreement that was put in place was, if you look up here across there, it's the green area. That is the existing, I think it's 30-plus acres right there, that was given in as basically as compensation to put the wells in and to have access to the wells for perpetuity, to be honest. That's because they're there. And so now what we're doing is we're going back, and there's, I can ask the question, is there a lease on that property? And again, I do this with respect to my neighbors and everything else. Was there ever a lease produced on that property for that 35 acres?
On the section in green?
For the green.
There was a verbal agreement between the city and Doyle Smith, is my understanding.
So there's never really been, it's been a handshake agreement. So really what you look at it is, over the past years that it's been used, they've been compensated for the wells that are there. So to put this now as being required by the DNR, all they're saying is that let's codify, let's put this in writing what the existing is. When I look at the lease that's out there, which is what I kind of oppose, is it doesn't even really mention the existing ground that's being grazed up there. See what I mean? And when you look across now the 51 and the 10 and the 4, you guys can argue about that. I think that's fine. That can go if they want to give that as a token, a little extra. I'm not sure why we need to expand the agreement at this point if the agreement's already in place. But the 51, it's across the interstate, it's across the bypass. And if you look at it, when you see Bertrand, 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 and then you see how it kind of divides, there's a reason why I'm standing here. I have a vested interest. This is generational. What you're talking about doing is tying this property up. And as you can see, I was not aware, and I don't think my father was aware, that all of these years that's been grazed. And again, I mean this with the utmost respect to my neighbors, and because I get it was kind of the Wild West out there. That's been grazed for cattle against us for the last 20 plus years. And again, I'm not complaining, I'm not saying anything. Last year I went in on my expense, again, not complaining, and I replaced that whole west line at my expense to keep those cattle, or their cattle, separate from our cattle. Again, at my expense, not charging the city. I always assumed there was a lease there of perpetuity. Well, now that there's not a lease, I think it opens the question to the public domain. Why shouldn't that become part of the public procurement process? And it's expressed to me is that the city is saying is that is being used as compensation to grant an easement on the existing wells. Well, as far as if you look at it from the, if this is a handshake agreement, the agreement is already in place. The agreement was already in place. It's been used. It's been compensated. And the existing green spot is already in, it's not even being talked about in this lease. We're talking about expanding the agreement. So, I mean, if there had been 200 acres there, if there had been 300 acres, of course you're going to go for it from a grazing perspective. So what I'm saying is that if you want to go back to the existing ground that was being used, the green, and use that as part of the existing compensation to put it in writing, great. If you want to give them the 10 and the 4, great. But I'm saying the 51, and what I submitted today, because this is the process, is I submitted basically an open market bid for the 51. Now, the city is going to defend, and they're going to say, number one, you can't condemn it. That's bogus. Bob, you are 100%, if you get a legal opinion on this, is the wells are already on the property. So if a property owner says, nope, you're not going to have access to it, which they're not saying that, but if they were to say that, you'd say, fine, it's against public good, you'd condemn it. The other thing is, because if you look at how this ground is landlocked, I'm only talking about the 51 acres, because there's zero access to the bypass, there's zero, it's pasture, will always be. To buy the access was $63,000. That was stated in the lease. They said they would sell the easement for $63,000. Take the 51 acres, and the ground up the road sold for $8,100. Let's just say this would sell for half of that with no access. Let's say it sold for $5,000, $4,000, which is what it's worth. 4 times 5, it's pretty easy math to do. It more than covers to buy the easement out from the neighbors, from the Smiths. And then you guys are done. No leases, no liability for the city, and it goes back to the tax roll, which where it belongs. So if you're not gonna, if you want to get rid of it, just get rid of it and buy the lease out if it's too expensive. Then again, going back to budget neutral for the city, they actually get a net gain on this plus the tax revenue. So all I'm asking up here is, what are we getting off of this agreement and the lease? And I mean this with respect to my neighbors, and I mean this sincerely, they're good people, and I would be up here doing the same thing on the other side, is what is the city, or what are we getting for the area in the green right now on this agreement. It's not even being mentioned. Isn't that part of the compensation for the wells, for the easement? Isn't that part of the deal? Yeah? I mean, it's not even being mentioned.
So the section in the green is the first section that he got in the handshake deal for the monitoring wells that are currently on his land. We need to move further south and put up additional monitoring wells on his parcel that's south of the landfill. So in order for us to move further in on his land, he is requesting that additional land. Now, if we could put
This is a
wells,
clean, this is a
Additional
cleanup.
land.
Yeah, go ahead.
the one in the pink that it actually lays adjacent to his, it's hard to see on this map, but capital management has this, this, and this. We are letting him use this for the first monitoring wells. He is now requesting these parcels for us to go further down on this. We'll basically have this.
But he's had that ground on that side of the, south of Bertrand's I've complained about that for 20 years around here. He's had that ground, he has grazed cattle on that ground. Kelly Bach, where are you? Because I've asked that question many times. He's had that ground for years. He's been putting cattle south of Bertrand's, if that's what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the 51, that's all. None of my business what the deal was cut with before that.
Well, I'm just talking that there's a bunch of ground that he's grazed. There's a lake right there, and he's grazed all that for years.
But I think, Bob, I think that's the compensation
Yep,
they said
that's
for the
the
original
one.
wells.
But he's been grazing there forever.
And the 51, if we're being intellectually
I'm not
honest.
disagreeing with that. I just, I'm I've only been in my
Well-
here, so I'm trying to pick this up and
Get it across the finish
I'm just
line.
saying he's been grazing
It's a
there
cleanup,
forever.
Alex, it really is. I mean, I get the attorney, this is a total cleanup, and they've used this in the past. And the nightmare of the city has always been, I've heard this from the attorney, the nightmare for the city is if someone comes up and actually opposes it, the process. And the only reason I'm doing it, I'm not trying to be, guys, you got to just look at the map. I mean, this is a generational thing. If I got an opportunity, or if it was reversed and the other guys had an opportunity to pick up 51 acres of grazing ground that just completely ties into the ground over a lifetime, my dad, we never got a sniff at, and now we find out there's really never been a lease on it to begin with, and I just spent $25,000 on a fence. I guess at some point I would say that I have a right to put a bid in. I may lose the bid. I know Mr. Greenwell over at the school board doesn't believe that I understand the procurement process, but I really do. And I think that if anything, cut the 51 out, and if you want to sell it, put it up for bid. He may own it anyway. He's probably got more money than me and probably going to buy it. I mean, but either way, let's get it off the tax rolls. But there is a solution here to be done with this thing, because there's only going to be two buyers in this thing. There's going to be two bids for rent and two bids to buy it. And then you can buy out the easement, which it says right in the lease, they requested $63,000. Buy the easement out, no contracts, no liability for the city across the road, some kid falling in the ponds and everything else, and you're done. So I asked for a deferment to peel the 51 out, and either let's put it to a procurement process and let it go to public bid, which it should. I'm not holding up anything else. I'm not requesting anything like that.
He didn't request $63,000.
Well, that's just, no, I'm just saying that's what was presented in there. That
Right.
would be you're right, being requested, I'm saying that is the fair and market balance if you were to say to buy out those easements. It's in the
But then
documents.
Yes.
So, and truthfully, if you do less than market value, you've got 200,000 in jingle you can play with to buy that out.
But he doesn't want to sell it.
I get that, but again, if you start talking about public usage, at the end of the day, they can't stop from going to the wells. You can't. And that's a bogus argument from lawyers from opinions. That they can just say, no, you can't come on the property. It's already was established with a handshake, and they are still getting compensation through the green property. So either buy it out as an absurd amount that they can't refuse because they're already doing the same thing they're doing right now, or take the 51 out because that is excess on the agreement. Give them the 14 and the existing ground they're using, and then put it out for open bid. And again, they probably will get it. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it is more prosperous for the city to get higher rent than just the $50 an acre. My guess is it's going to be more than 50 an acre.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, respectfully, thank you. You want my
Anyone
bid?
else to be heard?
Can I turn this in or not?
No.
Officially, it's been stamped? Okay, thank you.
Amber, just tell me again, please, where the 14 acres is on that map, and where the 51 are.
not on, guys.
The 14 is in the middle, it was in the pink, right? And then the 51 is up on the farthest.
Just
you
one
get the
second,
map
we have
back?
to display it. It's-
The map's not up. Okay.
So these, that would be the small one, unfortunately, that's the 51.
But he automatically already gets this green. He's had that for years.
Because that's what
And
he's saying.
that's not reasonable compensation for what we gave him? Come on.
This is what he was requesting in return for us to have that land. And we went back and forth. I've been working on it since I got to the environmental office, so I'm going on, this will be 2 full years that we've been working on, that I've been working on it, and I know they're working on it before this.
Amber, there are 3 parcels, aren't there then? 14, could you tell me again, please? That's 14 right there?
Yes, I believe so.
And then the next one up is 51?
51.
What's further,
Dan, and then 10 up on top, 1021, and that's 50.
Top.
This is the one that's adjacent to the CCC. That's the CCC right there.
So for information, the existing monitoring wells run almost right there on the property line.
right?
We've been informed that we're more than likely going to have to install additional monitoring wells further down. That's the purpose of the easement, is to give us further access. And in response to Mr. Bertrand's statement that they can't stop us from going on, that may be true, but IDNR has informed us that in order to be compliant, we have to have the permanent easement or we have to own the ground. So the permanent easement is our attempt to comply with IDNR's requirements for the monitoring wells for our closed landfill. That's the bottom line. We have to have this easement, regardless of whether or not we can still access the wells.
Well, I'm not trying to be critical, but this is way too good a deal for me to vote for. I've been upset with that green for years. I've been upset about that. It's ridiculous. And now you're expanding it, almost tripling it in size.
Well, and I don't disagree, Mayor. I'm just trying to understand what that process could look like, what our ability is based off of legal opinion of if we would be able to take that or if we would just open it up to a public bid or what that would look like.
Well, I'm not doubting your legal staff because I've had a bad day today with the legal type things. But I'm sorry, I want to see it. You know, we always say I want it writing from the DNR. I want to see it. Because I don't believe that you can't appeal their decisions. I'm not naive enough to believe they're the last law of the state around here. And I don't believe, I'm sorry, but it's difficult for me to believe that this is not in the public interest and a public purpose. If they're requiring you to have it, how is that not in the public interest?
Well, and maybe maybe then what I would request for my own good or feeling about this is a deferment just to be able to get those materials, because it sounds like Amber can provide the court case with the finding that they did lose on that, and Eric can provide the other additional information as well, or the written statement from the IDNR. Does that interest anyone?
There's no written decision. It was a district court case, so I want to be clear on that. IDNR has given us multiple extensions already, and I believe we have to have everything completed by June.
This is our like 3rd or 4th time we've deferred.
Well, what are they going to do if we don't have it? That's always the question I'd like to answer.
Fine us,
Fine us.
Yeah.
because we're not in compliance with the plan that they're requiring us to have in place.
But we're doing this in good faith, though, and we're proceeding accordingly, and we've had some citizen input we need to at least take into account.
I wouldn't recommend deferring it, but that's
I think so
council's.
too, but you know, the farm lease, it's a 15-year term, but it's the big subject too, that we can terminate it if we need the land for public.
We can terminate
For
it at
development.
time for the contract, but I do believe we have to have the wells. I think I looked at it, it was until 2038 is when if we keep having outside of the regulatory amounts
That's
that
on
were
the,
being tested, it could be up to 2038 that we have to have the wells installed.
and that's where the permanent easement is, on that 35-acre strip that's just to south of the section line.
But if you're fencing it off, you've taken the property. That's what's killing me.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm in the same boat. I wish he would sell it, and then we would just have that parcel. That's the other thing. We can always go back and try to negotiate. It's just that time constraint, and we can, I mean, it's like you said, what's the worst they can do? Fine us? I mean, we are working to get it done. Part of that deferment that we keep deferring is because it takes so long to go back and forth with capital management.
Today, I can.
I know.
That, but.
Yep.
So it'd be a 3-week deferral? We'd either have to do it 1 week or have a special meeting on our 5th Monday.
Well, keeping in mind the item that was approved by the council under number 16 is part of the consideration for number 17, so they're intertwined.
Have to reconsider.
So no, I'm accepting the personal easement. I don't have a problem with that.
How much time?
I'm
how much
just telling you.
How much time do we need to get this put together then for a deferral?
What do you need to have?
For IDNRs,
Well, for us, if we vote to defer this item, what date are we looking at?
Well, what information is it that council wants us to provide?
the written IDNR that we need the easement, and they were asked for the court case.
But the court case isn't in writing.
Not a written decision, so.
It's not a what?
It wasn't a written decision. I will try and track it down. I can't make any promises. It was from a district court on the other side of the state that we were informed of the results from our consultant, so we'll have to work to try and.
It wasn't a reportable decision from the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court, so we can't just readily find it in their publications. But we'll see. We'll try to get it.
Listed or whatever, yeah.
So a week from today, the 24th, or are we looking at April 7th?
We don't meet next week?
We don't meet on the 3rd.
31st, we don't meet. That's the 5th Monday of the month, but, so it'd be April 7th? We do that?
No, you better
Well,
get it
this is the
next.
hearing, so we'd have to republish notice.
No, you can.
You can defer for a short amount of time. I would just suggest if you're going to defer action for 1 week, we'll see what we can come up with before the 24th.
So then do we want to continue the hearing? Would that be the
Yes.
word, the verbiage we
Correct.
want to use?
Yes, defer the item and continue the hearing.
I'll make that motion. If you think that's a good idea?
I would appreciate the time to consider at least that additional information or have more conversations with staff about options.
I'll
Second,
make, yeah, the motion then is to defer the item and to continue the hearing,
until the 24th.
Okay.
March 24th.
Scott,
No.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner.
Okay, thank you. Citizen concerns, any citizen want to be heard, please come to the microphone,
Mayor,
please.
Mayor, just, do we need to do anything with agenda
17
item
proper.
16? Do we need a reconsideration?
Well, that was just approval of the purchase agreement, so I imagine that what will happen is central management will just, or capital management, excuse me, will just delay execution of the easement pending the outcome of the decision on the lease.
So we're okay the way it is now?
I believe so. It was just approval of the purchase agreement.
If the lease agreement was voted down at a future council meeting, then what we would propose to do would bring the item back and rescind the action that was taken in item 16.
Okay.
All right, citizen concerns.
Cindy Hanson, CYNDI, Hanson, HANSON, 2112 South Henry Street. As I mentioned earlier, I appreciate the service that you all provide to the city of Sioux City, and I understand the constraints that are coming to you from the state of Iowa and what I will call some of their overreach into your authority. That being said, I was very disappointed to learn of the dramatic budget cut to the Human Rights Commission. As we see efforts eroding individual rights and the opportunities for people to stand up for those rights, it is concerning to me. I want to express that to you in hopes that as monies become available or mandates from the state change, that you would consider reinstating those funds. And I also want to let you know that I'm very vocal with our state representatives and senators on this topic too, of letting local control be local control so that we can truly hold you accountable for the decisions that are being made within the city.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mandy Engel-Carty, Mandy, M-A-N-D-Y, Engel-Carty, E-N-G-E-L hyphen C-A-R-T-I-E, 2721 Sunnyside Court. Honorable Mayor and esteemed council members, I have written remarks. As a small business leader, I notice strategic plans because they provide a roadmap for achieving long-term goals, aligning resources and activities, and ensuring everyone is working toward a common vision. An annual budget is even more critical because it supports and connects the mission, vision, and priorities of that strategic plan with a financial strategy. Another way to express it, I guess, is that a budget is a clear view of the priorities of leadership. So I'm struggling to understand how our city's strategic plan connects to a budget that decimates the Human Rights Commission. Sioux City's current strategic plan, to be specific, contains the following. Section 1 says, grow Sioux City. Capitalize on development opportunities to expand and enhance Sioux City. Recent data shows that for every dollar invested in a Human Rights Commission, cities see a return of $3.84 in economic benefits through improved community relations and reduced legal costs from lawsuits. When we cut funding to the Human Rights Commission, we're not only jeopardizing the rights of individuals and businesses, but we're also missing out on a clear financial benefit that works for everyone and often goes unnoticed because it's largely preventative, proactive, and harder to measure. The second part of the strategic plan is value Sioux City, create a destination for visitors, and instill community pride among residents. It's hard to see a publication called Progress in light of this decision, and in light of the cases I review each month as a commissioner. A big part of my life's work here in Sioux City is showing girls that Siouxland needs them, their voices, and their future leadership. It will continue to be a great place to call home, to stay here, and to raise your family. But how can they believe that without the supports that they are going to need along the way? The third pillar of the strategic plan, connect Sioux City. Enhance public and private partnerships to connect citizens and businesses. Nonprofits see the benefits of collaboration and partnerships every single day. And it is those collaborations and partnerships that really truly move every issue forward. But it doesn't work without a safety net that ensures fairness. Protect Sioux City is the next pillar. Promote the overall well-being of our residents, visitors, and environment. How can our citizens, who are so burdened with many, many, many expenses right now, possibly feel safe, supported, and connected when their rights are violated and they have no place to go, or they're told to go to the state or get a lawyer? The average income in Sioux City actually works out to about $15.75 an hour. That's not a realistic choice for most of us to go to the city or go to the state or get a lawyer. If we are disabled, struggle with confidence or the language or knowledge of our rights, most of us will simply give up. An inclusive Sioux City is the last section, and perhaps this is the most demoralizing for those of us who work in the helping professions. This description is utilizing new strategies to eliminate barriers and increase accessibility. And the first bullets under that, the things that you all as community leaders promised are, one, to evaluate programs, policies, and practices with city staff and partners to improve service delivery, reduce barriers, and increase inclusivity. When the commissioners met with the city council in person last year, the number of closed cases was mentioned as a concerning issue. How can the HRC close even more cases with virtually no staff or resources? Clearly, there is a growing need for a robust commission to address issues of inequality, misinformation, and injustice in our city. The appalling complaints we commissioners read each month range from discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodation, and they disproportionately affect marginalized communities across race, gender, disability, and sexual orientation. Yet the budget cuts, again, tell us another story. I'm here today not only as a commissioner, I'm here as a citizen and as a woman with a history of facing discrimination that began in high school,
got worse in college, got even worse in grad school, and has continued throughout my adult life and professional career. For years, I've listened to and identified with the stories of girls and women who have endured. When you must choose between paying rent and eating, between getting gas and getting your prescriptions refilled, you have very few choices. That was me in my childhood, my young adult years. And in the United States, justice shouldn't be one of the things that we have to give up because we can't pay $150 an hour or more for a lawyer. Without a free, immediately accessible, non-biased safety net, most Sioux-Citians will have no avenue for justice that is their right. I'm speaking on behalf of the hundreds of people in our city who rely on the Human Rights Commission to protect their rights, to advocate for their voices, and ensure that they grow up in an environment of equity, justice, and opportunity. I've seen each of you do so much good for so many, and I hear about it all the time. And that's why I'm absolutely mystified by this decision. I'm asking you all, I'm begging you all to revisit your strategic plan and the budget and restore the funding to the Human Rights Commission so that we can continue our work on behalf of small businesses, on behalf of individuals, on behalf of anyone who needs assistance in this community. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Kennedy. That is spelled SHANNON KENNEDY. Mr. Moore, you were not here 2 weeks ago when I took the opportunity to thank Mr. O'Kane for his vote against slashing the Human Rights Commission's budget. So I want to extend that thanks to you very much. After voicing concerns at the March 3rd meeting, along with several others, the only answer that I've heard is that all the city government departments had to cut their budgets. To my knowledge, no one had to cut their budget by 40%, like the Human Rights Commission is going to have to. So I have some additional questions. Did any other city government department have to cut positions?
No. I said that the last time you were here. I said no one actually took a budget cut. They got less than what they asked for, but they did not take a budget cut. I said that the last time.
Did any other government department have to reduce employee hours?
I don't know the answer to that.
Only the Human Rights Commission? Did any other employees in any other city government departments have to lose benefits because of reduction in hours? Because 2 people at the Human Rights Commission are going to. 3 people at the Human Rights Commission are going to have their hours reduced. Did any other city government department directors take a cut in pay? No? Because the director of the Human Rights Commission is going to have to take at least an $8 an hour cut in pay. One final question. Mr. Mayor, I watched the budget wrap up on YouTube, and I heard you say $140,000, that's only one position. So which position were you referring to?
You can recut, there's 2 positions with benefits that probably include about that much money when you consider the travel and pay and the benefits.
So why is it okay to cut from only that?
Because I don't think 40 cases is a lot of cases to handle with 3 staff members and interns.
Well, once again, I also hope that before this budget is final and goes into place, you all take another look at it. And again, thank you, Mr. Moore, and thank you, Mr. O'Kane.
My name is Kathy Banta, Kathy with a K, Banta, B as in boy, A-N-T-A.
Shannon did get at least one of my questions answered from what she presented. My only other question is this a concerted effort, or I should say, yet another concerted effort to get Karen Mackey to retire, resign, or otherwise abandon her post with the Human Rights Commission?
I can only speak for myself. No, I don't have any, listen, Karen and I, she'll tell you, we had some problems a few years ago on a rent thing. I have not had any communication with Karen since then. I've not had any ill feelings or anything else. I think we've gotten along from that point. No, it has nothing to do with that from my standpoint, but I'm only speaking for myself, so others will have to answer that.
No, it was not specific to my decision at all.
Okay. I guess the only other thing I have is a comment. When I was here 2 weeks ago and shared one of the many, many, many stories I have about how Karen Mackey and the Human Rights Commission has helped me when dealing with racism, just being a person of color in this town. And you asked us for empathy for your position making these decisions. So my empathy is this. I hope those chairs are comfortable, because we're going to keep coming back here and we're going to keep fighting until you guys finally do the right thing.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll go to council concerns. Matthew?
I first want to recognize our visitors from Girls Inc. Would any of you like to have a comment? Nobody wants to get up and talk?
They're all happy to be here and support our executive director. I'm the program director.
Could we have your name,
Here
please?
as well. Olivia Ray, Olivia.
Thank you. Go
last
ahead.
name Ray. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ms. Olivia.
Okay. Matthew?
Nothing for this week.
Julie?
Nothing for this week either.
Alex?
St. Patrick's Day, there's a parade going on downtown. Should begin within the hour. So hopefully everyone has a good time and is safe. But yeah, just wanted to remind people that will be going through our downtown.
More.
I want to welcome Girls Inc. as well. Thank you for being here today. I'm hoping maybe after the meeting we could grab a picture with council. The other thing, we have the NAIA tournament going on this week, and Briarcliff University is playing Friday evening at 8:00 p.m. So it'll be a great game, to watch and to participate in. I think that's all I have for right now, Mayor.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott. Scott.
Aye.
You know they're here to protest us, right? Like,